James Alon is James the Wine Guy. Purpose of this video is to talk about wines from Turkey. So stay tuned. So this is something I've been really wanting and desiring to have these off-premise at a wine retailer in San Francisco. Finally found them here 2014 December. Now if I looked before I could never found them, or maybe it was just a one-time purchase by a corner store. Who knows if it really happened. But I would say this. Now you could have looked just a short period ago, say a decade ago, and never found these, not even on the on-premise off-premise situation, so restaurant or wine retailer, and you would have probably had a very hard time in the United States. Perhaps the only city that could have done this would have been New York City, possibly Chicago, and maybe LA, but I seriously doubt it would just have been New York, say a generation ago, that would have had these wines. Now, it is a really ancient producer and also new at the same time. Now, it is the fourth largest producer of table grapes, and by that extension, it's not necessarily the fourth largest producer of wine, but it does produce a small portion of the table grape production to wine grapes, and that means vitis vinifera. Now, I was reading citation, and of course, if you look online right now, you look at Wikipedia, it's hinged on one person alone. That is Jancis Robinson, the Oxford Companion to Wine. So I think it's great to get a perspective of what's really happening. So you could look at Ataturk in 1925, who created the first commercial winery in Turkey. But you also have to look back and say, okay, wait a minute. You look towards Eastern Anatolia. I'll show you in a map the wine regions. There's 7 wine regions in Turkey. But you can look at this region and say, wait a minute, this is really close to the Caucasus. This is the Caucasus in the Eastern Anatolia region. And when you look at that, you know immediately that Republic of Georgia plays a part in this. And you look at the whole wine story of vitis vinifera, cultivated wine grapes. And you're going to note that this region did have this occurring. Now, I really look towards this person. Now, it's an excellent book if you're interested in the history of wine. So Ancient Wines, or Ancient Wine, and it's by Patrick McGovern. It's a fantastic book. You can see how much I like it. I dog-eared everything, or bookmarked everything, and I think it really gives a better perspective. Now, Jancis Robinson's book, now what I find that's not accurate here is it really relies on ampliography. So the Oxford Companion to Wine says there's about 600 to 1,200 indigenous grapes. Now, I'm not so sure that's true. It could be on the lower end, say 600. Now, she's relying, or her editors are relying on the fact of ampliography, so the study of the wine grape leaves. And that's very different than, say, a DNA analysis to understand what that is. I'm not saying there's not a lot. I'm saying there's quite a number. But that number's a bit high, and the 1,200 is actually quite inflated. So my own study, my own taxonomy shows that there's about 10,000 or 10,250 plus wine grape varieties, and so I think that number, if you look at that number, that's a relatively high. That would be 10% of that total catalog, or the total taxonomy. So I'm not sure that's quite correct, but I would say that there's vigorous amounts of indigenous grapes as well as international varieties. So we'll talk about these wines in their own videos, but I really wanted these to show you these are actual product that I've received, and so I think this is a really fantastic journey that Turkey's going through. And this grape here is called Okozguzu, and I'll bring this a little closer. So you're going to see a lot of diacriticals, but it's actually relatively easy to pronounce. And that's the whole idea, is that the Turkish language is in Latin script, and I think in terms of that translation was to get pronunciations were close to exactly how you would pronounce this if you just saw this. So there might be some differences in the pronunciation, but I think it's really ultimately to not be afraid of that and to make a discovery that's really wonderful for your wine tasting table. So on a map, I'm going to show you the wine regions of Turkey. It's really important to look at in terms of, these come from a very specific region of Turkey, and I think it's really good to get an idea. I think what I've always said about wine is that you can look east, west, north, or south of a known wine region, say Greece, and look, east rather, and you're going to see a wine region, and wonder what's happening there. And some fantastic wines are coming from Turkey. And one of my favorite Turkish restaurants here in San Francisco, Tuba, would be my place to get Turkish wine and great Turkish food as well. And so here are the wine regions. We'll start off with is this region here called Marmara, and that's in Istanbul. So you see the Black Sea region. Of course, it faces the Black Sea. The Mediterranean faces the Mediterranean region. Central Anatolia is a greater part of Turkey, as well as the southeastern Anatolia and eastern Anatolia. and also the Aegean, which is of course facing the Aegean Sea. And it's a great climate for wine grapes, and it's phenomenal in terms of. I think this is a great discovery for your table, and I'm going to do more wine videos. But I was really excited. I'm a kid in a candy store, the proverbial kid in a candy store when I saw these. It's like my first time I saw Croatian wine at a off premise. I thought, oh my God, this is great. I got to call people, and I did, because you got to get some. You got to taste this, and the price points are really reasonable on this. Fantastic wine, great provenance, and a great history, but more wines to come. I'm going to do individual reviews of these bottles right here. I think they're fantastic. They deserve to be highlighted in their own individual reviews. And so stay with me. I'm going to have more Turkish wines coming, and so I look forward to looking at this as a wine region to grace your wine table with, to grace your food and wine table, to grace maybe your cocktail wine hour, where you want to really serve a wine that I call a point of difference wine, something that's going to be remarkably different, yet very friendly and approachable and delicious. So let's connect on the many social medias that I participate in, such as Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, Google+, Pinterest, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram and WordPress. Thank you again for watching. Let's stay connected. This year, 2014, has been an outstanding year. What I'm thinking, receiving wines on my table, such as wines from Turkey, Kingdom of Jordan, and a whole host of places that are near and far, and familiar and less familiar, and a great host of varieties. So thank you again for watching. Stay tuned for more. Salut.